What is going on, guys? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Happy New Year. After a busy few days off, I am back in action today. We're going to be getting into the college football playoffs from last night. Two really great games, but there were some draft prospects who I thought played particularly well in these games that maybe the Jets could potentially be targeting in the draft. We'll go through all of that. Just wanted to also say, I mean, if you didn't see, I got engaged on New Year's Eve, but so many people reached out to me in the Jets community and people who watch the show every day. And like, I wish I could respond to everybody, but I just wanted to give a big overarching, thank you. Truly, it was the kind words really meant a lot to both me and my now fiance Taylor. So I just wanted to thank you guys. I mean, you've been all really accepting of us and her, and she comes out to all our events. And during the NFL draft stream with Ryan and Green Bean, she's cutting up the clips. So she's just as involved in this stuff as we are at times. So just want to say I appreciate that. But let's hop into today's video. As I said, draft targets who played well. We'll start with the early game and then work our way up to the second game. Both of them really good. Both one-score games, both final drives late. Really interesting stuff. So, okay, first, where do the Jets currently pick? As of right now, they have the 8th pick in the NFL draft. That could get as high, I guess high being, towards the top of the draft, up to 5. They would need significant help to get up that high. Or it could drop with a win as low as 12. So they're going to pick somewhere between 5 and 12. Some things have to break really right for them to get all the way up to 5. And some things have to break the other way to get them as low as 12. My guess is it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And my stance on this has remained pretty much the same, that, if Joe Douglas is worth a damn, he should be able to find a quality impact player wherever he ends up in the top 10. And more likely than not, I think anyway, who knows, maybe I'm wrong, but more likely than not, I think it's still somewhere in the top 10. Right now, they are currently 8. So keep that in mind when we're talking about these prospects. Again, we'll start with the early game, Alabama and Michigan, really fun one. But I want to look at Alabama right tackle J.C. Latham. So he is someone who is entering the NFL draft, and it's very obvious if you watch the Jets this year, they need significant help on the offensive line. And there are 2 big prospects right at the top of the draft. You have Alt, Fashanu from Penn State. Like, those are the 2 supposed blue chippers. Again, none of this in the draft is a guarantee. Maybe they don't work out. Maybe some of the guys who go later end up being better. But really, at least in my opinion, there's 5 offensive linemen, including those 2. But those 2 are, I think, fair. Even I will admit they are a little bit of a tier above. And then there's a secondary group. There's like 3 more names: Fuaga, Latham, Mims, and Latham is somewhere in that group, either from somewhere between 3 and 5. I think for me right now, he is probably offensive tackle 4, but I would be satisfied with Latham. I think he is absolutely a player. Now the question with him is, can he play left tackle or is he a right tackle? Even if he is just a right tackle, you take him, I think, anyway. If that's right, like, let's say your top 3 offensive tackles are off the board, and you got to figure out a way to get somebody in here. Latham, I think, is worthy of going in the top 15. I think, again, there's 5 tackles who could end up going in the top 15. He allowed, in this game against Michigan, 1 sack. It was the only pressure that he allowed. He's allowed just 2 sacks on the season and 12 pressures on the season. He's been a really efficient blocker at Alabama. For the last 2 years, that's the position he's played. He's played right tackle. Now, some will point and be like, well, the last time the Jets were in this, they decided not to take Tristan Wirfs, who was more of a right tackle. Instead, they went for the higher upside big swing in Mekhi Becton. That obviously hasn't worked out. But I don't think Latham only in college playing the right side should scare you off from taking him. I think he's a quality player. He's an effective player. And guess what? They need help on the right side too. So figure it out. I don't know. Take your favorite offensive lineman, right? And figure it out. They always talk about getting the best 5 in there anyway. So wouldn't that not be your example of figuring out a way to get your best 5 out there? But anyway, he wasn't the only one in there. Although I will fully admit, full admission, I think the Jets more likely than not are going offensive line in the first round. Sure, there are other needs, like you have people who want to take a quarterback. I will talk about a quarterback in a little bit. Some who want to go wide receiver. Some who would say, hey, if Brock Bowers is there, he's a unicorn, take him. I don't think they're going to go on the defensive side of the ball. But anyway, if you're making a pie chart of the positions most likely the New York Jets to go in the first round, I think offensive line is the most likely. But there are other positions that we could absolutely get into. Quarterback, would they take a quarterback in round 1? Now, I personally, that is not my preferred route. I made that pretty clear through the last month or so. My preference is not going with a quarterback in the first round. Many want to do that, and someone that they like, and someone who I think is absolutely a top 4 quarterback in this class, is Michael Penix, who went absolutely off against the Texas defense. Holy smokes. He went 29-38, a 76.3 completion percentage, 430 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What stood out for me from this game is, number 1, his deep ball. His ability to get the ball down the field is really, really impressive. And number 2, his ability to read a defense and make the right decision. He's an accurate, smart quarterback. Now, his couple of red flags, and they are legitimate red flags, as much as I like Penix. I think he's in the conversation for QB3. I don't know if I put him ahead of Daniels, but he's right to me, right there and in the mix, and is someone who, when it's all said and done, I think he is someone who's going to go on night 1 in the first round of the draft. There's 2 red flags. Number 1, he's played 6 years in college, so he's an older prospect. And an older prospect, number 1, you would think, all right, come in and play right away. And that wouldn't be the case if you're taking Penix. So he's, 24 now? And, maybe if Rodgers plays a couple more years, you're looking at a 26, 27-year-old first-time starter. Don't know if that's necessarily the play. And the second thing is, specifically with the New York Jets, right? Because of the god-awful field they play on at MetLife Stadium and the turf and their injuries history. Penix has had a couple of injuries. He's had knee problems. So does that not scare you a little bit? It does. To me, those are 2 legitimate gripes and 2 legitimate red flags with Penix, but there's no denying the talent. So I think he's a very, very talented quarterback. He is a smart quarterback, a decisive quarterback, has shown really good abilities to, read defenses. So an impressive showcase from him. We'll see how he performs against Michigan in the championship and how that increases his draft stock. And the last one that we will talk about is Michael Penix's favorite target, Rome Odunze, the wide receiver. 6 catches, 125 yards. Now, he is a bigger contested catch kind of receiver, and the Jets were hoping Allen Lazard would be that. Really hasn't been the case for them this year. Maybe with Rodgers' return, he could salvage it a little bit. But moral of the story, the Jets desperately need a number 2 receiver to add to this room. Probably a 2 and a 3, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, to go with Garrett Wilson and company. And like I said, I think offensive line is much more likely for the Jets. But if you were to pick a second position for the New York Jets to potentially go after in the first round, it's wide receiver. And Odunze was really good last night. What I like from him, again, contested catch guy. He's put on weight, so his ability to go up and get the football and make those really tough plays on the football. He's an aggressive player. He's good down the field. I've seen draft comparisons, like people have talked about him like Jamar Chase. I think that's maybe a little bit on the high side, when like a Cortland Sutton type of receiver, maybe, so Cortland Sutton before injuries in 2019, we're talking, but a bigger outside receiver who can make plays down the field, make contested catches, and it's just been really productive. Like we all know the biggest name, Marvin Harrison Jr., is probably going to be off the board by the time the Jets are picking. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe if they lose and get some help and they're picking 5 and a bunch of quarterbacks go early, maybe by some miracle he's sitting there for the New York Jets. I wouldn't think so, but Odunze's a name that you're going to see, depending on where the Jets end up, is going to be a popular name that gets mocked to them. And I think for good reason. I think absolutely he is someone who has, performed well this year, and he had a really, really good game and a really good showing. So for those two, Washington, who move on, Penix and Odunze, keep a close eye on them in the national championship game, and we'll see how that impacts his draft or their draft stock. And for Latham, his season's done as Alabama lost to Michigan. So he is done. I would imagine offensive line, again, I've said it a million times in this episode, in this video, and just over the course of the last few weeks and month here. I think offensive line is the direction the New York Jets go. But again, it's a long time till April. Maybe things change. Maybe, with free agency, you feel like, or a trade, you feel like you don't have to go that route. So we're going to talk about other positions as well, even if, I don't necessarily think at the moment it's the most likely option. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts on these guys down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you guys next time.